Hey y'all, my name's Priscilla and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of You Bring the Distant Near by Mahalia Perkins. It's been a while since I've held a book up because I usually read ebooks, but let's go for this. So You Bring the Distant Near is a book that I picked up from my library because I was looking for a book to read to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is the entire month of May if you didn't know. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the book down so I'm not holding it the whole time. You Bring the Distant Near is a YA novel that is following a Bengali Indian family as they move originally from India to Ghana to London and finally settle in the United States. This is a generational tale. It's told from 5 perspectives of women in the Doss family over 3 generations and 4 or 5 decades. So it's a really great novel. It was released and published in September 2017 and has been nominated for a slew of awards since, including the National Book Award. So this is an own voices story from this author. In an interview, the author stated that she was inspired by her own family and her own experiences moving across the world to all these places, but she did fictionalize a bit of the romances in this novel. So in a way it is a fictionalized memoir, but it is still a novel, so it is still fiction. The title, You Bring the Distant Near, was inspired by a famous poem from a Nobel laureate Bengali poet named Rabindranath Tagore, and I am probably mispronouncing that, so I'm going to put that name somewhere on the screen now. And I think that that title is pretty fitting because it's a poem that's about being a bit uneasy, having this uneasy anxiousness in your heart while being welcomed in a stranger's home. But it's a celebration of this new home, this new life, and still maintaining this fondness and life from your homeland that could be distant, very far on the other end of the world. So this story is first and foremost about love, about sisterhood, and about heritage, and how some of these wounds associated with these things take generations to heal. There's also many other themes in this book that I really enjoyed, such as biracial identity, there's racism, there's discussions about Islamophobia following 9/11 and the attacks in New York, and feminism, arranged marriages, and the traditional roles of Bengali women. All of these topics of intersectionality are totally my jam, so if they are yours, you'll probably like this as well. And if all that sounds like a tall order for a YA novel of less than 300 pages, it is. But I really enjoyed it, and completing this book after binging it for a 3-day span, I wanted to give it 5 stars on sheer entertainment value alone. However, after sitting on it, I lowered my rating to 4 stars, mostly because of structural issues and not connecting with some of the characters as much as I connected to some of the other more compelling characters. So I will be getting into those things in this review. So in the beginning of the book, there is a family tree. I don't really mind that. I like it when authors tend to add some visual diagrams. So you see the fairly simplistic family tree, which I wasn't too sure about because I thought that it's so simplistic, is it even necessary? But as I started reading on, I felt myself flipping back and forth between the chapter I was in and the family tree to orient myself with who was speaking where and why, because the storytelling starts in the 60s and then it rapidly moves to present day 2000s, and at times it skips decades at a time, and you're introduced to new characters that hadn't even been mentioned before. So I found this exploration into what had happened and how the story was unfolding before interesting and really engrossing, but I can understand how some readers may feel a bit detached and not enjoy this sort of kind of fragmented, jarring kind of storytelling. Once I got my bearings and got my understanding of what was happening, I really enjoyed this stylistic choice. One of the things that I like about a story like this that is told in multiple points of view is that you really get acquainted with many flawed but very complex women. However, some of these characters were more compelling than others, particularly Sonia and Tara, who are the daughters of the matriarch of the grandmother. Their stories were very compelling. They take up over half the book, so it's kind of hard not to feel attached and kind of develop these characters much more than others when they take up so much real estate in the book. I felt the least connected to one of the granddaughters named Anna, and I felt myself sort of rushing through her chapters to get to the next character, Chantel's chapter, because I wasn't really attached to her, and I felt like hers were kind of buffers just to get to Chantel's. So in that way, it was a bit weaker in developing that character. The grandmother, who is the matriarch of this family, also has the greatest redemptive arc, but the shortest point of view, the shortest chapters. Her chapters are actually third person, so I don't even know if you could say they're from her point of view, but I wanted more of her story. We do hear about her story, obviously, from all her daughters and from her grandchildren, but I wanted more from her personally. She is so concerned with her daughters and her grandchildren losing their Indian culture, but she herself has to come to terms with American life and how this is not only her children and her grandchildren's culture, it is also part of her own. I also realized that in this story, the romance that was used as the plot devices was a bit repetitive, because it's sort of the same story for each of these characters. You know, each of the characters has some sort of arc, some sort of obstacle, and it all ends when they meet a boy and fall in love with the boy, and that's kind of how it ends. You know, they're going to end up with this said person. I thought it worked well in some narratives, but in other narratives it was a bit less effective and less impactful. There is also some fantastic discussions surrounding religion and race. So the family, being Bengali Indians, follow Hindu, but one of the daughters converts to Catholicism when she marries a black man from Louisiana. And there's also this conversation of how these cultures clashes and how certain things are expressed and interpreted differently from all the women. So all in all, this book is a love letter to America and to heritage, and celebrating all the things that make families great and different and unique. It's a gem of a novel for young adult readers and adult readers alike. The author says that she's heard that grandparents are reading this alongside their grandchildren, and I think that's so wonderful. This reminded me a bit of the Joy Luck Club, but it was a bit more uplifting and humorous. So if you're into stories that are character driven and that portray wonderfully South Asian representation, this is probably for you. Or if you just want to pick something up for May, or June even, a nice light summer read, this is also for you. So that was my review of You Bring the Distant Near. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll pick it up. So in the comments below, let me know if you've heard of this or if you plan on reading it. I would be happy to hear from you and talk to you more. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!